The Zarkali Dominion was one of the most powerful empires in the galaxy. Their fleets had crushed countless civilizations, their warriors had never tasted defeat, and their technology was considered unmatched. When they discovered a small human colony on the edge of their territory, they didn't even bother sending a warning. They simply attacked. In mere hours, the colony was nothing but debris floating in space. The Zarkali warlords laughed. Humans were weak, insignificant. There would be no retaliation. Or so they thought. Days later, their sensors detected an approaching vessel. At first, they assumed it was another trade ship, lost and unaware of what had happened. But when they scanned it, something strange happened. Their systems glitched. Screens flickered, data corrupted, and for a moment, every Zarkali battleship in the fleet went completely blind. By the time their systems came back online, the ship was already within firing range. It was an old human warship, outdated and rusted, something that should have been scrapped centuries ago. The Zarkali commanders scoffed. One single human ship? Against an entire fleet? This had to be a joke. The fleet's commander, General Vorix, ordered his ships to open fire. Hundreds of plasma cannons locked onto the human warship and unleashed their full firepower. Explosions erupted in space, and for a brief moment, everything was engulfed in fire and smoke. The Zarkali warriors cheered, certain that nothing could have survived such an attack. But as the smoke cleared, their celebration turned into stunned silence. The human warship was still there. Not a single scratch on its hull. No damage. It hadn't even moved. It just floated there, as if mocking them. Confused, Vorix ordered another barrage. This time, every ship in the fleet fired at once, unleashing enough energy to destroy a planet. The attacks hit, but the result was the same. No damage. No shields detected. It was as if the ship wasn't even real. Fear crept into the hearts of the Zarkali warriors. Their weapons were useless. That was impossible. Their empire had conquered thousands of worlds, and nothing had ever resisted their firepower. Yet this single, ancient human ship stood before them, untouched. Then, without warning, the human warship finally moved. It was fast, too fast. In an instant, it appeared right in the middle of the Zarkali fleet. Ships scrambled to reposition, but it was too late. The human ship fired a single shot. Just one. A bright beam of white energy cut through space, and the largest Zarkali battleship was sliced in half like paper. No shields had activated, no alarms had gone off. It had been destroyed before it even had the chance to defend itself. Panic erupted. This was not normal. This was not possible. How could a ship that old, that weak-looking, hold such power? The Zarkali fleet desperately tried to retreat, but the human warship was relentless. It moved like a ghost, appearing and disappearing, its attacks precise and unstoppable. Every shot it fired destroyed another ship instantly. There was no counterattack, no resistance. The mighty Zarkali fleet, the same fleet that had conquered entire civilizations, was being wiped out by a single enemy vessel. Within minutes, only General Vorix's command ship remained. He could barely breathe as he watched his entire fleet turn into lifeless wreckage. Then, the human warship turned to face him. It was time. The screens in his ship flickered again, and suddenly, a message appeared. Just a single sentence, written in simple, chilling words, "We remember." Vorix's blood ran cold. This was about the colony they had destroyed. This was revenge. He tried to communicate, to beg, but no response came. The human warship charged its final shot, and in one blinding flash, the last Zarkali ship was erased from existence. As the wreckage of the once great Zarkali fleet drifted in silence, the mysterious human warship turned and vanished into the void, leaving behind nothing but fear. The galaxy would never forget this battle. The Zarkali Dominion, once unstoppable, had been destroyed not by an armada, not by a fleet, but by a single ship. And no one knew where it had come from, how it had survived, or if it would return. But one thing was clear: humanity was not weak. Humanity was not to be underestimated. And somewhere in the endless darkness of space, that Warship was still out there, waiting for the next empire foolish enough to challenge it. The HFY Empire had ruled the stars for centuries, crushing any species that dared resist them. Their war fleets were unmatched, their armies vast, and their technology superior to all. When they encountered humanity, they barely gave them a second thought. Humans were new to the galaxy, weak, inexperienced. The HFY saw them as nothing more than an inconvenience. So, when a small human patrol ship mistakenly crossed into their territory, they did what they always did. They destroyed it. There was no warning, no communication, just a swift and merciless strike. The humans barely had time to react before their ship was reduced to debris. The HFY fleet moved on, expecting no retaliation. After all, what could humanity possibly do? 3 days later, something strange happened. One of the HFY border stations lost contact. No distress signal, no explosion detected, just sudden, eerie silence. Then, another station went dark. Patrol ships sent to investigate never returned. The HFY High Command grew concerned but dismissed it as technical malfunctions. They had no enemy strong enough to challenge them. Yet, deep inside, an unease began to grow. Something was wrong. Then, the reports started flooding in. A lone ship, unlike anything seen before, had been spotted moving through HFY space. It was human. But that made no sense. Humanity did not possess technology advanced enough to challenge the Empire. Still, wherever this ship appeared, chaos followed. HFY warships were dispatched to intercept it. They locked onto their target, weapons primed, and fired. But before their shots could reach, the human ship was gone. Just disappeared. No explosion, no wreckage, nothing. Then, out of nowhere, it reappeared behind them. In seconds, their shields dropped. Their systems crashed. Their weapons failed. Panic set in as alarms blared, warning of complete system failure. And then, the ship fired. A single beam of energy cut through space, and in an instant, the lead HFY warship was gone. No explosion, no debris, just gone, as if it had never existed. The remaining ships tried to flee, but it was useless. One by one, they were erased from existence. Word spread quickly. The HFY fleet scrambled to respond, sending their largest warships to face this unknown enemy. The human ship did not flee. It waited. The HFY brought their most advanced dreadnought, a monstrous vessel capable of destroying entire planets. It had never lost the battle. They surrounded the lone human ship, confident in their victory. The battle began. The HFY ships fired everything they had, filling space with fire and destruction. But nothing hit. The human ship moved too fast, too unpredictably. It was there 1 second, gone the next. And then, the nightmare truly began. One by one, HFY ships lost control. Their engines failed. Their weapons turned against them. It was as if something had taken over their systems, something far beyond their understanding. Their massive dreadnought, the pride of their fleet, was the last to fall. Its captain, frozen in terror, watched as the human ship approached. A single message flashed across his screen: "You started this." Then, in a blinding flash, the dreadnought was no more. For the first time in history, the HFY Empire knew fear. They had wiped out entire civilizations without a second thought, believing themselves invincible. But now, they were the hunted. And they did not even know what they were up against. The lone human ship, this phantom of war, had turned their greatest fleet into dust. And worst of all, no one knew where it would strike next. The Zeltrax Dominion had conquered countless worlds, reducing entire civilizations to nothing more than footnotes in their history. They ruled with absolute power, crushing any species that dared resist them. When they set their sights on Earth, they saw it as just another primitive world, another easy conquest. A single message was sent to humanity: surrender your planets and become part of the Dominion, or face complete destruction. Humanity had heard of the Zeltrax before, how they left nothing but ashes in their wake. There was no negotiation, no mercy. The United Earth Council responded with only 3 words: We do not surrender. The Zeltrax found this amusing. No species had ever refused their offer and survived. To them, humans were nothing more than insects who did not know when to bow. Their fleet, one of the largest in the galaxy, was dispatched to make an example of Earth. Thousands of warships moved into human space, overwhelming every satellite and station in their path. The Dominion's commanders expected an easy victory. They did not expect what came next. Just as their fleet entered Earth's solar system, it was small, insignificant compared to their massive battleships, an old human warship. It drifted alone in the darkness, standing between Earth and the invading armada. The Zeltrax fleet laughed. A single ship? Was this humanity's last stand? The Dominion's High Commander, Lord Vecren, saw it as an insult. He ordered all ships to fire. A wave of energy weapons shot across space, engulfing the human ship in flames. The Zeltrax officers celebrated. But as the smoke cleared, their victory turned into confusion. The human warship was still there. Not a single scratch. No shields had activated, no defenses detected. It was as if their attacks had never happened. The laughter died. Sensors malfunctioned. Communication between ships started breaking down. Systems flickered on and off. Panic spread as control panels displayed errors they had never seen before. Then, the human warship moved. It did not attack. It simply drifted forward, slowly, as if daring them to strike again. Vecren, furious, ordered another barrage. More energy blasts, more missiles. The result was the same. The ship absorbed everything, untouched, unfazed. Then, without warning, the Dominion's weapons shut down. Across the fleet, power levels dropped to zero. Engines died. Shields collapsed. The largest and most powerful fleet in the galaxy was suddenly defenseless, floating helplessly in the void. And then a message appeared on every screen in every ship. This is your last warning. Leave now or be erased. The message repeated in perfect Zeltrax dialect, emotionless and cold. Vecren refused to believe it. He would not allow his empire to be humiliated by a single vessel. Desperate, he tried to issue commands, but the controls did not respond. The human ship charged its weapons, and for the first time, the fleet's sensors registered energy readings beyond anything they had encountered. It fired a single shot. Just one. The leading battleship, the pride of the Dominion, vanished. Not destroyed, not damaged, gone. No explosion, no debris. It had been erased from existence, as if it had never been there. The fleet fell into chaos. Captains screamed over malfunctioning comms, officers ran in panic, and warriors who had never known fear were paralyzed. Vecren watched in horror as the ship turned toward the rest of the fleet. He had seen enough. He gave the only order left to give, retreat.asa. The surviving ships fled back to Dominion space. They received one final transmission from the human warship, do not return. The message was clear. The Dominion, for the first time in its existence, had been defeated without a single human casualty. News of the battle spread across the galaxy, and the mighty Zeltrax Dominion, once feared by all, never dared to challenge Earth again. No one knew what that ship was, where it had come from, or how it possessed such power. But every empire in the galaxy now knew one thing: humanity was not to be threatened. The Rygath Empire prided itself on domination. For centuries, they had crushed civilizations, turning thriving worlds into graveyards. No one had ever challenged them and lived. When they encountered humans, they saw no reason to treat them differently. A human colony had settled too close to Rygath-controlled space. The Empire's War Council did not bother sending a warning. Without hesitation, they deployed a fleet, and in less than an hour, the colony was gone. Millions of human lives were erased. The Rygath warriors celebrated, expecting no consequences. To them, humanity was weak, a species not worth fearing. But then, something changed. One by one, Rygath ships started disappearing. At first, it was dismissed as accidents. A patrol ship went silent, never returning. A transport vessel failed to arrive at its destination. Then a battleship, one of their finest, vanished without a distress call. No wreckage was found. No survivors. It was as if they had been erased from reality. Concern turned into fear when reports spread of a strange ship seen drifting in deep space. It was human. But not just any human ship. It was the same model as the colony's defense cruiser, the one that had been destroyed. That was impossible. The ship had been vaporized along with the colony. Yet, there it was, moving through space without a sound, without a signal. The Rygath High Command finally took action, deploying an armada to hunt it down. Hundreds of warships scoured the void, their weapons ready. Then, one night, the fleet's long-range scanners detected movement. The human ship appeared, slowly drifting toward them. The Rygath commanders laughed. A single vessel? Against the Empire's greatest fleet? This would be nothing more than target practice. They locked onto it, unleashed a storm of plasma fire, and watched as their shots hit dead on. Smoke and fire filled the screen. The target was gone. But the cheers died when the sensors recalibrated. The ship was still there, untouched. It hadn't even moved. It just floated in the darkness, silent, watching. Then their systems failed. Screens flickered, engines sputtered, weapons refused to fire. Communication lines went dead. Panic spread across the fleet as officers scrambled to regain control. But it was useless. The Rygath ships, once the terror of the galaxy, were now blind and defenseless. And then the human ship made its move. It did not attack. It simply appeared next to the nearest warship, drifting closer and closer. The crew inside screamed as their lights dimmed, the air grew cold, and their controls stopped responding. One moment, the ship was there. The next, it was gone. No explosion. No escape pods. No debris. Just gone. One by one, the Rygath fleet was erased. Every time the human ship appeared, another vessel vanished into the void, as if it had never existed. The Rygath warriors, once fearless conquerors, were now reduced to terrified prey. They tried to flee, but there was nowhere to run. The ship of silent death followed them, its presence suffocating, its attack unseen. The High Commander, the last survivor, stared in horror as his own ship lost power. A message appeared on his screen, written in perfect Rygath script, "We do not forget." His breath caught in his throat. This was revenge, not just for the destroyed colony, but for every human life taken. His heart pounded as the human ship drifted closer, its dark hull reflecting the void. And then, just like the others, his ship was gone. The galaxy would never understand what had happened that day. No one knew where the human ship had come from, or how it possessed such power. But the message was clear: humanity was not weak, not helpless. They were patient. They were vengeful. And when the time came, they would not forgive. The Varkal Dominion had no respect for weak species. They ruled with an iron fist, expanding their empire through fear and destruction. When they encountered humanity, they treated them as nothing more than pests. A small human colony, barely a few million strong, had settled on a planet that the Dominion claimed as theirs. The Varkal sent a fleet demanding immediate surrender. The humans refused. The Dominion responded the way they always did. They burned the colony to the ground. The entire planet was turned into nothing but ash, every human life erased in a single day. To the Varkal, this was nothing more than another routine extermination. But what they failed to understand was that humans were different. Humans were not like the others. Humans remembered. Days passed, then weeks. The Dominion expected retaliation, but none came. They assumed humanity had accepted its fate, that they had learned to fear the Empire. But then, one of their outposts went silent. A minor inconvenience, nothing to worry about. Then another went dark. And another. There were no distress signals, no battles, no explosions. The bases were just gone. At first, the Varkal leaders dismissed it as technical failures. But soon, even their warships started disappearing. Entire fleets, some of the most powerful in the galaxy, simply vanished. No wreckage. No survivors. Just silence. Panic spread through the Dominion. They did not understand. There was no declaration of war, no demands, no threats. Just the slow, unstoppable erasure of their forces. The name humans started to spread through the ranks like a whispered curse. Some claimed the humans had created a weapon beyond imagination. Others believed it was something worse, that the humans had become something else. The Dominion's Grand War Council finally took action. A fleet of 5,000 warships was assembled, the largest force ever gathered, and sent toward the last known location of the missing ships. It was an overwhelming force, an armada capable of wiping out entire civilizations. They thought they were ready. Then they saw it. A single human warship. Small. Silent. Alone.it drifted in the void, motionless, as if it had been waiting for them. The Dominion fleet locked onto it, weapons charged. "Surrender or be destroyed," the fleet commander ordered, his voice filled with arrogance. The human ship did not respond. It did not move. It just existed. The commander laughed and gave the order to fire. 1,000 weapons erupted, filling space with destruction. The human ship was consumed in fire. The Varkol cheered. And then, their cheers turned into screams. The ship was still there. Untouched. Before anyone could react, the Dominion's fleet lost power. Engines failed. Shields collapsed. Weapons went dead. The unstoppable war machine of the Varkol Dominion was now nothing more than a collection of floating metal coffins. A message appeared on every screen, simple and chilling: "You made us angry." The Varkol commander's blood turned cold. He tried to issue commands, but nothing worked. Then, one by one, the Dominion warships began vanishing. No explosions, no wreckage. Just gone. The flagship, the pride of the Dominion, was the last to disappear. Its commander could only watch as the human ship drifted closer, its dark hull reflecting nothing, as if it were absorbing the very light around it. His final thought, before his ship was erased from existence, was the same as every Varkol before him: "We should not have made them angry." The Varkol Dominion never recovered. What was once an empire feared across the galaxy became nothing more than a ghost story. Other alien races learned from their mistake. No one dared to challenge humanity again. Because in the vast darkness of space, where countless empires had risen and fallen, one truth remained: you do not make humans angry,